Hi, folks. It's Marvin Music with MedicareSchool.com, and I want to welcome you to our event tonight. I have been out for about a week or so, and just actually got back late this afternoon from Cancun. My wife and I took a week's vacation down there. I love to go down there and walk along the beach and just relax. And so, back at it. Hope that all of you that are on Medicare made great decisions for the coming year. And just as a quick reminder, those of you that are on Advantage plans, you still have one more opportunity right after the first of the year. If you own an Advantage plan on January 1, you have the first 3 months to switch those plans if you need to. You may have chosen the right plan, but just be mindful. That's another enrollment period that we have that's called the OEP. So we just came out of AEP, which is annual enrollment period, which is October 15th to December 7th. And then for those on Advantage plans only, you have an opportunity the first 3 quarters, the first 3 months of every year, the first quarter, where you can switch those plans if for some reason you didn't enroll in the right one, or maybe something happened, your doctor came out of the plan as far as network goes, you do have the opportunity to be able to switch those plans the first 3 months. That's called the OEP, Open Enrollment Period for Medicare Advantage plans. All right, so again, welcome. Tonight, what we're going to do is we're going to tackle a topic that I hope will be helpful for you. We're going to talk about this expense that has no max out of pocket ever, meaning it just continues to go and go and go and go. We'll talk about that, and then I'll take your questions here in just a few minutes after I deal with this particular topic. So anything you want to ask tonight about Medicare, your situation specifically, fine to answer those questions. Anything about Social Security that we may be able to lend some assistance to as well. This afternoon, I had a call from one of my clients that was dealing with an IRMA issue, which is those adjustments that are made to Part B and Part D for those of you that are high income. And so if you want to discuss that and how to deal with those, if you have some type of recourse, I'd be happy to address that also. Most of you that are going to have IRMAs for 2026, you have received those letters, hopefully, letting you know what the IRMA charge is going to be. But again, anything you want to talk about, ask me tonight in regards to Medicare, Social Security, I'd be happy to field those questions. Our producer, Daniel, does just a great job overseeing our channel and all that goes on within our platform. We also have a great content creator. Most of you probably have seen her now on our channel, Erica Smiley. Erica is very, very sharp, knowledgeable, just a wonderful person. And so she has really added a lot to what we're doing at MedicareSchool.com through our YouTube channel. I want to mention also, if you're not familiar with our Facebook group, that continues to grow. And the reason we talk about it is because we have found that to be a great platform for those of you who just want to interact with others that are on Medicare. Certainly, we want to give professional advice, expert advice in regards to all things Medicare and Social Security. But sometimes it's also great just to hear about life experiences that people have while they're on Medicare and certain plans. And really, that's what our Facebook group is all about, to share what you've been through, to learn what others have been through, and then also we weigh in as well. Some of the people on our staff will weigh in and answer questions. So those are the two sources we have. Our YouTube channel continues to grow. Love for you to be a subscriber. If you're not, there's obviously no cost, but the benefit is every time new content is created by our company, then you're notified about that, so you can stay up to date on Medicare. And I just want to say this to you. Thank you for allowing us to serve as your broker. I know many of you that watch us regularly have already chosen to use us as your broker, and our desire truly is to make sure that you have a great experience, that when you have a problem, you don't have to call 1-800 customer service in the Philippines, 1-800 customer service in India or China, but you get to call our office, and our staff is there to help you. We're certainly not perfect, but I promise you we try to do our very best to make sure we deliver a great experience for you, to help you just as much as we possibly can. And so that's what we're committed to do, not just to help people initially make good decisions, but ongoing as things change, the market changes, your situation changes. We want to be there for you whenever you have problems or need to make any kind of a switch when it comes to your Medicare decisions. Okay, enough of that. Let's get into tonight's topic. It is this, the Medicare expense that has no max out of pocket. And as I see the title, we want to kind of keep it basic tonight. Some of you probably already know what we're going to talk about, and that has to do with this option of enrolling into Medicare A and B. Medicare A and B has no max out of pocket that is established. Medicare A and B continues to go and go and go and go. Now, most of you are familiar that Medicare has gaps. Let's talk about those gaps as it relates to 2026, because all those numbers are now out. They've changed. And so those gaps are actually going to be increasing in 2026. So first off, I want to talk about the Medicare A side. A side is what? A side is the hospital side. A side is the place that, or the part of Medicare that will pay your bills when you're admitted to the hospital. Remember, folks, if you go to the hospital and you're not admitted, you're still under observation. That is still considered to be outpatient, even if you're at the hospital. They must admit you, and once you're admitted, then you're going to be covered under the Part A of Medicare. So Medicare A pays the hospital bills. It pays for the medications you get in the hospital, the doctors that are, the nursing services that you get in the hospital, the room and board, the tests that the hospital runs, everything related to your care, except for doctors, are going to be paid through Medicare A when you're hospitalized. Okay, so now we're talking about inpatient, and you're admitted, and everything the hospital is going to do will be paid through the A of Medicare. And so what is not covered during that hospital stay will be the doctors that see you, the surgeon, the anesthesiologist, the hospitalist that comes to see you, maybe the ER doctor if you actually came through the emergency room before you were admitted. All the doctors, folks, are always paid through Medicare B. So let's go back to Medicare A. So Medicare A, as we move into 2026, has increased this deductible. That deductible, listen, is $1,736. $1,736 for the Medicare A deductible. That means you're admitted to the hospital, and that is your out-of-pocket expense. Now, that A deductible is very unique to Medicare in that it is not an annual deductible. Those of you that have been working for years, you've been covered by plans that probably had a deductible, but it was always annual. You only had to meet it once a year, and then after that, you may have had 100% coverage, or after you met the deductible, you may have went into co-insurance, where you had to pay 80, or the company paid 80%, you paid 20, or maybe the company paid 90 and you paid 10%. And so that's how deductibles work. You pay this first, and then after that, you go typically into co-insurance. So the way it works with Medicare is this. If you're in the middle of the hospital, whether you're in the hospital 1 day, 2 days, 10 days, 50 days, up to 60 days, okay, anything between 1 to 60 is going to cost you the same amount of money, and that is the A deductible. Again, $1,736 in 2026. Now, that deductible is not annual. It is tied to a benefit period. A benefit period, again, is unique to Medicare in that a benefit period begins when you're admitted to the hospital. So day one, your benefit period begins. And then that benefit period is going to go for a length of time. And so what happens is that benefit period, we're admitted, and then let's say we're discharged from the hospital 7 days later. And so from the date of discharge for the next 60 days in the hospital, from the day you're discharged for the next 60 days, you're out of the hospital now, but you're still within your benefit period. Okay, so let me say it again since I kind of messed that up. We're admitted to the hospital, benefit period begins. We're discharged 7 days later. My benefit period is not over, because from the date I'm discharged now for the next 60 days, I am still in my benefit period, which means if after being discharged during that 60-day window, if I have to go back to the hospital for any reason, same reason that put me in there the first time, or another reason, doesn't matter. We're going back to the hospital. We are still covered by the same deductible. That same $1,736 deductible is going to cover me all the way through that benefit period, which again starts when I'm admitted. I'm discharged 60 days later. I'm still within that benefit period. But let's say I'm discharged 60 days later. Nothing happens to me at all, where I don't go to the hospital, but then something happens after that. Then I have to be rehospitalized. Now I will pay another deductible. Why? Because I have to start another benefit period, because benefit periods end 60 days after I've been discharged from the hospital. So again, if something happens after that, I got to pay that deductible again. So my point is the A deductible can be paid multiple times. Now, after we have met our deductible, that's all we have to pay, folks, out of pocket to the hospital for up to a 60-day stay, okay, which is a bargain. That's all it costs you. that 1736. But if you're still in the hospital after 60 continuous days, and it does happen, it's rare, but it does happen. And if I'm in the hospital after 60 days, now I go into what we call our second gap. And this gap is for hospital copays, hospital coinsurance. And this is a daily amount. And so what I mean by this is that month 3, you're still in the hospital. And what your copay will be next year will be $434 every day for month 3. So that's 30 days times 434. And then if you're still in the hospital, you're probably in a coma, by the way, at this point in time, months 4 and month 5, they double the copay. And now instead of paying $434, you're going to pay $868 next year. $868. And all I'm trying to teach you is this second gap in Medicare after we've met our deductible is for extended hospital stays. Month 3, month 4, and month 5. Again, very rare. They do happen, but when they happen, they're very expensive. So again, that just keeps building and building. And then what happens if you're still in the hospital after a full 150 days, folks, Medicare is done. Done. They're not going to pay anything additional. And that's why people have to have other insurance to get those extended hospital stays covered because they're very, very expensive. Medicare doesn't pay anything, but you have other forms of insurance that will cover that. Now, listen, the last gap we have on Medicare A would be a skilled nursing stay. Now, I want to talk about skilled nursing because a lot of people are confused about this. I want to make sure, number one, you know skilled nursing is not long-term care. It's not. It is. It's after a stroke, maybe after a hip replacement, maybe after an injury or an accident or a fall. And so we're going to a skilled nursing facility for the purpose of rehab. There's a very high likelihood we're going to recover, so Medicare is willing to pay for rehab. And so the rules are when we go to a skilled nursing facility on Medicare, we must be in the hospital 3 days or longer before going to skilled nursing. So as long as we've had the 3-day stay or longer, Medicare covers the very first 20 days. Doesn't cost you a penny. But after 20 days, if you're still in need of skilled nursing care, in other words, rehab is continuing, Medicare will cover you for the next 80 more days beyond the first 20, but you have a daily copay next year of $217 per day. $217 per day. Now, they tell me right now the average stay in a skilled nursing facility for a Medicare recipient is between 35 to 40 days. So again, Medicare paid the first 20. You're going to pay the next 15 or 20. So you multiply that times 217. We're looking at about $3,000 to $4,000 out of your pocket. All right. So here's the whole point. When we look at original Medicare, those are going to be our out-of-pocket expenses. And again, there's no max out-of-pocket that's established on the A side. Now let's talk about the B side of Medicare. What's the difference? Well, the B side is for everything that's going to be outpatient related, all doctor services, whether that doc is someone you go to see in their office or they come to see you in the hospital. B is going to pay the doctors. B also pays for your durable medical equipment, CPAP machines and oxygen equipment and diabetic supplies, wheelchairs, walkers, beds that are in the home. All those kind of things are called durable medical equipment. B pays for all of that. So again, doctors, everything outpatient surgery, your labs, your MRIs, your CAT scans, durable medical equipment, those things covered by B. Here's the way it works. In 2026, we have a new B deductible. Now listen, those of you that are on G plans need to be mindful. This is the only thing you're going to be out of pocket as you reset the clock January 1. You have to pay your B deductible. If you're on an N plan, same thing. You're responsible for the B deductible. It bumped to $283. $283. Now listen, you don't have to pay that unless you go to the doctor or something. So it's not like you have to write a check for that initially. But if you do see a doctor or you have an outpatient surgery or some outpatient lab work or those kind of services, you are going to be billed up to the B deductible. That's $283. And that could be a combination of bills. But once you have met that B deductible, $283, then your G plan is going to pay everything else. Your M plan is going to pay almost everything else. But the point is on the B deductible, it did go up a little bit. This year, deductible is $257. Next year, it's going to $283. So you have to meet the B deductible. And then we go to our second gap on the B side, which is the one that is the real painful one. And that is 20% coinsurance. Folks, remember this. Medicare doesn't pay for anything 100% other than preventive services. And that's it. So if you go in for a screening or an immunization or some kind of wellness exam that Medicare covers, that is covered 100%. But everything else, which is going to be 99% of everything, you are going to have out-of-pocket expenses. And so this is the painful one, is the B coinsurance, which is 20%. So Medicare pays 80% on the B side, but you're going to have to pay 20% after you've met that deductible. And that 20% never, ever, ever, ever stops unless you have insurance, of course, to stop it. All right. And then the last gap would be what's called excess charges. This is a rare occurrence, but when this happens, this means you've seen a doctor that can see you as a Medicare patient, but is not under the contract that they are obligated to take Medicare reimbursement rates as payment in full. This is a doctor that adds to the bill. Again, it doesn't happen often. Less than 5% of doctors can even do it. And even then, probably about 3% of them will even do it. But the point is, when a doctor adds to the bill, they can only add 15%. And when they do it, that is called excess charge, and you're responsible to pay for that. Medicare allows it, but Medicare doesn't pay for it. And again, it's unlimited. And so here, all we're trying to teach you tonight, when you look at the original Medicare A and B system, and by the way, folks, I like that system. That's how I'm going to be covered under my Medicare beginning in January. But what happens, because we have all these out-of-pocket expenses, these gaps we're responsible for, you do not want to assume all of that liability. Okay, let's review. We have the A deductible. We have the B deductible. On the A side of hospital, we had extended hospital copays, and we had extended skilled nursing copays. On the B side, after the deductible, we had 20% coinsurance. That never stops, and then the possibility of excess charges. Again, those don't stop either. And so the problem with someone having A and B only is they're now responsible for all of those gaps. Most people who really understand the risk involved of our health issues at our age are not going to want to assume the risk. So what do? They buy insurance. Anytime we get insurance, folks, all we are doing is transferring risk. I have homeowners insurance. Why? Because as I'm in my home right now, in my kind of study little area, also my grandkids play here. But point is, in my house, I think it's probably valued about $900,000. I suppose something like that, maybe a little more, a little less. But the point is, I do not have to worry about it burning down, because I don't want to burn down, but if it did burn down, I am not going to rebuild my home. Why? Because I have a homeowner's policy that I pay for, and if my home burns down, they are going to have to rebuild it. I pay them a premium. I've transferred the risk of my home burning down to them, and they got to cover it. Same thing with my auto. I don't want to wreck my car, but if I did, I do not have to pay for the repairs of my car, anyone else, medical expenses. All this is going to be covered by what? My auto policy. I transferred the risk of that to Progressive Insurance. That's who I carry. And the point is, that's what we're doing with health insurance. If we stay in A and B, we have too many gaps. There's too much liability. You do not want to assume that. It's very unwise to do so. Transfer it away. Today, most people are transferring the risk away and getting a G plan, or they're getting an N plan. Both of them, I think, are wonderful products. When I when I buy a G plan, I'm transferring the most amount of risk away that I can. And that is, I'm transferring all the risk away except one gap, and that's the B deductible. Those of you on G plans, you must meet a B deductible. That's once a year. This year, it was $257. Next year, it's going to $283. And so that's all the bills that I should ever see in 2026 would be $283. And again, I don't know what that'll look like. It could be $283 of an MRI, or $283 of a cataract surgery, or it could be 2 doctor bills with lab work. But a combination of those bills, that's all I'm out of pocket. So as long as I'm seeing a Medicare provider and getting a service that Medicare covers, I will not pay any more out of pocket other than my B deductible. Now, I got to pay a premium, of course, for that, just like I do on my homeowners and my auto policy. I pay a premium, and I transfer the risk away. You can transfer all the risk away today, but the B deductible, if you get a G plan. And by the way, that's the most comprehensive plan today for anyone starting Medicare after 1/1 of 2020. Prior to 1/1 2020, people who were eligible for Medicare could actually transfer all the risk away, all of it. They could transfer all 6 gaps away. That was called the F plan. Some of you still have F plans. If possible, I'd get off of it and go to a G if you can medically qualify. If you can't, you've got great coverage. But if we start Medicare after 1/1 2020, F plan is not an option. And then I'll close with this, and I'm going to take your questions. Another way people are transferring risk today, if they don't want to go with the most comprehensive, the G plan, they're going with an N plan. Still a very, very good option. It's more budget friendly for sure. You take on a little bit, I mean minimal more risk than the G, but it's still a very good plan. And so the N plan, the way it works, remember we had 6 gaps, N covers 4 of the 6 gaps. N covers everything on the A side. Your deductible on the hospital is covered, extended hospital copays are covered, extended skilled nursing covered. What happens on the B side, though, is that N plan only pays your 20% coinsurance. It doesn't pay the deductible, just like the G doesn't, but it also will not pay the excess charges if and when those occur. Again, very, very rare that we even see them, but if you did happen to see one and you had an N plan, you would be out of pocket on that extra 15%. And then in addition, every time you see a doctor, you have a $20 copay on the N plan. You go to the emergency room, you have a $50 copay. All right. And so why would people do that then? Because it's a little more budget friendly. They're going to save on the average about $40 to $60 a month. Folks, it truly varies throughout the country. Some even more. But I would say on the average between about $40 to $60. So let's call it $50 a month. We save $600 a year. Yes, we took on the risk of excess, which is very rare anyways. You're probably not going to the doctor, 2 or 3 times a month anyways. So net could be a savings of maybe $500 to $600 a year for you. And some people look at that and say, you know what, I'm going to go with the N because I know I can control excess because you don't have to go to a doctor that doesn't take assignment. In other words, you don't have to go to a doctor that charges excess. Most don't anyways, but if they do, they'll tell you, you don't have to go to that doctor. And then you don't go to the doctor regularly anyway, so those $20 copays are probably not going to amount to much. All right, and the beauty, and I'm done with this, the beauty of all supplemental plans, whether you have a G plan or an N plan, is this. You can go to any doctor, any provider, as long as they take Medicare. Any hospital, any doctor, okay? And folks, that is becoming a big deal today. More and more of these Advantage companies are seeing their networks shrink and shrink and shrink. Less hospitals taking them, less doctors taking them. They're having problems. If you have a Med Sup plan, you're not going to have that problem because you can go to any doctor as long as they take Medicare. They will take your supplemental plan. Number 2, you don't have to deal with any pre-authorizations by the insurance company. Sure, Medicare has a few, but in comparison to Medicare Advantage plans, it's minuscule. Medicare Advantage plans, 27% of the time, you're going to have a pre-authorization. Insurance company has final say-so, not you, not your doctor. When you have a supplemental plan, that insurance company never has a say-so in any care you're going to get. They can't delay, they can't deny, they will cover anything that Medicare is going to cover. And then you also have a lifetime permanent policy, portable. If you move from one state to another, take it with you. Not so with Advantage. Though they can drop them every year. You don't take them with you whatsoever. You got to renew those on an annual basis. Now, as I close this out and I take questions, folks, listen. Many of you are on Advantage plans. I am not bad-mouthing your option. There is a time and a place for Advantage plans. There certainly is. I don't want anyone to get a supplemental plan that can't afford it. You need to afford the monthly premium on a supplemental plan, or you should absolutely get an Advantage plan. Why? Because at least with the Advantage plans, we have a max out of pocket. Most maybe will be $3,000 a year, $5,000 a year, but at least there's a stop loss on the Medicare Advantage plans. There's a limit to how much you'll have to pay during the year. If you went over and had A and B only, and that's all you had, it never, ever stops. There's no max out of pocket with A and B. So if we stay in A and B, we better get a G plan or an N plan. And if we cannot afford the G or the N plan, then by all means get that Advantage plan because it's tons better than having A and B only. All right, so I went a little long on that. Sorry about that, but I hope it was helpful. And Daniel, if you're ready, I'm ready, sir. Let's start taking some questions and see if we can be of help. Here we go. All right, which plan is a better choice? High deductible G plan or Advantage plan? Here's my problem. If let's say that's all I had to do, okay? If I had plenty of money, then I would probably choose a high deductible G plan if I had plenty of money. And I'm going to tell you why. Because right now, that high deductible G plan, I think, is the neighborhood of about $2,900 before your insurance pays anything. I know the high G plans have a reduced premium, okay? And so you're going to pay less than a regular G or an N. And frankly, let me share this with you. I would much rather have an N than a high G. But if these are my only two choices, as long as I have plenty of money, I'm going to take the high G. because I know if I can write that check for $2,900, to cover my deductible, then I would do that, because at least I still can go to any doctor as long as they take Medicare, and I don't have to deal with all the pre-authorizations. So that I like. Now, if someone doesn't have the wherewithal to be comfortable knowing that I'm going to have to meet that $2,900 every year if I have some health problems, if they can't do that, then I would definitely prefer the Advantage plan. And the reason for that is because most people don't max out on their Advantage plan. And so the problem with the high G, the only problem that I see is this: if your health changes in almost every state but New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts, you have to stay on that if you can't medically qualify to get off of it. Okay, so that high G plan could be yours for life. And so what I just soon do then is have that Advantage plan, because I get some additional benefits with that. Yes, I have a max out of pocket, but I can get a critical illness plan to cover that. I can also get a hospital indemnity plan to help offset those expenses as well. Okay, so between the two, I'd still take a high G. I would. But if I can't afford that out of pocket, then I again would move to the Advantage plan. All right, let's keep going. Great question, by the way. I'm not in that position, so I didn't have to narrow it down to those two. Here we go. If I need to get on Medicare by my birthday month, March 26th, if I sign up now, do I have Medicare in January, or does it start? No, your Medicare starts your birth month. And so if your birthday is March 1, then your Medicare would begin February. But if your birthday is March the 2nd through March 31, then your Medicare is going to begin during the month of March. So our birth month is when we begin Medicare, with the exception if you're born on the 1st. Remember, always move it back to the previous month. All right, hang on just a second. I forgot to turn my phone off. So you can enroll now, whether you enrolled now or you enrolled even in February, December, January, February. Those are your first 3 months before birth month. So any of those 3 months you do the enrollment, the net effect is going to be the same. Your A and B date will be 3/1 of 2026. Great question. Let's keep going, Daniel. All right, are you guys still helping with dental plans? Yes, we do. Yeah, we actually have 3 different main carriers that we write for, and really what it just depends on if you have a dentist you like, what plan is the dentist in the network. And keep in mind, even if the dentist isn't in network and you like the dentist and you like the plan, if it's a PPO plan, that's all we write, then you can go to any dentist you want. The issue could be if the dentist will not file the claims, you may have to pay the bill and they get reimbursed by the dental plan. So the point is, yes, we write them, and it just depends on your dentist and really what's available in your particular market. But we'll take the time to help you set that up, no problem. Just give us a call. All right, next, Daniel. All right, what source of income are used in the calculations of IRMAs? Almost everything, okay? All sources of income are going to count towards your IRMAs, and the reason for that is because everything is going to go on your tax return, of course, and the number they're going to look at, or excuse me, the line they're going to look at is line 11. Line 11 is your adjusted gross income. So you take all your income, and there are a few adjustments, okay, that could reduce that. But line 11 pretty much includes all sources of income. All right, and then of course they'll also add line 2A. 2A on the 1040 is called tax exempt interest, which is typically municipal bonds as well as territorial bonds at U.S. territories, Puerto Rico, Guam, some of those bonds. What happens is you earn interest on municipal bonds and territorial bonds, but you don't have to pay taxes on those federally, but you report those on your return. Okay, so it's line 11. Again, almost all your income. Line 2A will determine the number they're going to look at. Now, keep in mind, if we're on Medicare in 2026, they're looking back at your modified adjusted gross in 2024 to establish your IRMA. Okay? All right, next. Oh, my 86-year-old mother just passed. Will my 87-year-old dad continue to receive her monthly benefits? Well, the only way that would happen is if he's presently doing that. That would be spousal benefits. And so once she passes away, if the benefit that she was receiving is greater than what he is receiving, then the answer to your question is yes. Because remember, folks, when we receive Social Security, we only get one form of benefit. We either get retirement, which is our own work record, spousal, which is 50% of whatever our spouse was eligible for at their full retirement age. We get 50% of that, less penalty if you take early. and then the other would be survivor benefits. And so survivor benefit is 100% of whatever that spouse was getting. However, if your dad's benefit is greater than hers, then he's just going to continue to get his. But if her amount, at now 100%, is greater than whatever he was receiving, then he can apply to switch benefits. And by the way, that does not happen automatically. So you would need to call the local Social Security office, set an appointment up to make that switch. And there would have to be proof of death, which would be a death certificate that would be faxed in or mailed in or sent in, whatever, to the local office to prove that death has occurred. So all I'm trying to teach you is that if he's getting it now, that tells me he's only getting 50% of what she was eligible for. So that's going to increase to 100%. If his amount is greater, then he's not getting hers anyways. All right. Hope that helped. Let's keep going. All righty. My Medigap application was filed 11/24, but is still pending because Cigna is so busy. That's true. Am I at risk since we are past the 12/7 deadline, yet I'm not approved? Okay. All right. So when you say that, yet I'm not approved. So I wish I knew that if you were already on a different MedSup or you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, because the answer to your question, are you all right? It just depends. If you're coming off of an Advantage plan and moving to a supplemental plan, then you are all right. However, and again, this is because I don't know what you have. Okay, I just know that you file for a Medigap policy. So if you're on an Advantage plan, you move to a MedSup plan. The only thing that's going to change is your effective date. It was going to have to be 2/1. Okay, so you will be covered by your Advantage plan for the month of December and for the month of January. Okay, now if you're moving MedSup to MedSup and you used our company or any company that knew what they're doing, there's no way they would have ever canceled your present MedSup anyways. And so what it's going to boil down to is what will be the effective date of your policy. So it could be 1/1. Now, if you're brand new to Medicare, and I don't know when you requested that effective date. So if you're brand new to Medicare, then whatever date that you requested, Cigna will honor that. So even if it's not approved today, and today's the 11th, they'll still backdate that MedSup plan to 12/1 because you filed it 11/24. They will honor that requested effective date. So again, I don't know enough, Daniel, really to answer this fellow's question. Okay. So do you have more information? Because if you don't, I'm going to move on because, okay, those are the scenarios. Sorry about that. Let's go. All right, I have original Medicare and Plan G with Cigna. Medicare is paying, but Cigna is claiming their crossover system to receive payment isn't working because Medicare says they've already sent information, won't resend. Okay, all right. So what I would do, if you're our client, here's what I want you to do. I want you to call the office tomorrow, and I want you to ask for Christina, please, and tell her what's going on. If you're not our client, we can't help you. We have to be your agent to be able to help you. All right. So I know about the crossover. So what happens is once Medicare is notified by you of what your coverage is going to look like, then they should record that. Now, that usually takes about 10 days after that phone call before it officially shows up in their system. So here's what I'm saying. Just make sure you told them that Cigna is going to be second to original Medicare. And then what I would do, make sure you give it 10 days, and then you tell your providers. So if you had a claim out there you're having problems with, just tell them to refile it. Because normally Medicare will take a verbal over the phone to put everything in the proper position. And for those of you who don't know what we're talking about here, crossover just simply means when someone first goes on Medicare, they may have been on a group plan. And Medicare may see that group plan is still in existence. And so now we enroll into A and B and a supplemental plan. That is then to change the insurance claims moving forward once we've set our effective date. And so sometimes that system does not cross over. That employer plan stays in the first payer position, Medicare second, supplemental plan is third. Not accurate, but that does happen. And so when we have a crossover problem, we call that department and let them know, here's the way it should be. And my experience has been in 17 years, they will take that verbally. Okay, so it's not about Cigna, because I know Cigna would have definitely notified them for sure. But if it's not showing up, again, tell them verbally. It should go through fine, and then tell your providers to rebill, and you shouldn't have any problems. Again, call Christina if you have any issues if you're a client. All right, Daniel, next. Alrighty, if you have a G plan and go to emergency room but not admitted, does the plan cover the charge? Well, it would after your deductible is met. Because when you go to the emergency room, it is the B side of Medicare that is going to cover that. And so the only thing you would have to pay would be the annual B deductible. And so let's say that this happens to you after January 1. Well, that emergency bill is going to be totally covered by the G plan except for your B deductible. Okay, hope that makes sense. And also, just for those of you that may be new to Medicare, you see what happens whenever we go to the emergency room and then we're admitted to the hospital, then they normally waive that. That's the normal practice. But if we're not admitted, then we would have to pay our B deductible first. Okay, good question. Let's keep going. All right, where I live in Northern California, you see PPO plans are going away. Okay, they're only offering one plan that is $89 a month and it's HMO. What are my choices? Well, again, we'd have to check to make sure that there's nothing else available in your market. Happy to do that. What I would do is I'd call our 800 number. We're still open right now until, about another 30 minutes. If not, you can call tomorrow. And let's find out if indeed we have some other options in your market. And if not, then you're going to be looking at some type of a supplemental plan, maybe a G plan, maybe an N plan. We write a lot of those in California. If you lost your PPO plan, then you're not going to have to medically qualify to be able to get that supplemental plan. It's called guaranteed issue. Now, your guaranteed issue product is going to be based upon when you started Medicare. So if you started Medicare before 1/1/2020, your guaranteed issue product will be an F plan. If you started Medicare after 1/1/2020, your guaranteed issue will be a G plan. If you want an N plan, you can still get that, but it won't be guaranteed issue. You'd have to go through underwriting to get that. But again, you have the right to do that because you've lost your Advantage plan termination by the company, not voluntarily on your part, involuntarily, because they termed the policy. So you have what's called a guaranteed issue right. Now listen, I would be making that move definitely this month because I think most of those plans you need to make a decision by 12/31. So give us a call and we can look and verify that there's no other Advantage plans available, and then look at supplemental plans. All right, let's keep going. All right, happy holidays. Copay protection plan since on spin down, not dual. Good. Medicare, Medicaid, C-SNP plan when 64.5. Isn't there no underwriting period 2 for copay protection and add-ons? Okay, well, yes, but I think with the copay protection plans, you do have to be coming into Medicare at 65, and then there's this period of time where there is no underwriting. That'd be true. But you're saying you got a C-SNP at 64 and a half. You've abbreviated so much that I'm not exactly clear. So chronic SNP plans, I like those plans. So, I cannot figure out what else you're saying. Since on spin down, not dual. Okay, so obviously you have some type of a Medicaid eligibility, but it's not 100%. So you went with a C-SNP instead of a dual SNP plan, which is really very smart of you to do that. And so again, I think once you hit 65, then you would be able to apply for a copay protection plan with no underwriting. But if you're on Medicare because of disability, then I don't think you would qualify for that. Okay, but call the office. Our agents would be very, very well versed on that in your state because it does vary state to state with the rules with the hospital indemnity plans. Okay, Daniel, what's next? All right, if you have a birthday rule, one that allows switching companies, can't you just get the cheapest G plan every year and not worry about issues, age, attained age, community rated policy? Okay, it is fine to get the lowest cost G plan in a birthday rule state. You're exactly right. Yeah, but the only thing I'd say is that when it comes to issue age, attained age, community rate, you could be in a state where there is nothing but community rated. I think there's 8 of those kinds of states. That's all they offer. And so it would be fine of those carriers that offer those plans to take the lowest cost one. I would totally agree with that. But based upon your question, I want to make sure you know and our audience knows that you and I usually don't have a say-so in the type of age. The type of policy pricing method that we get to choose from. It is usually the insurance commissioners. Now, it is true that there are some states that will allow issue age and attained age. Some states dictate issue age only. In fact, I live in a state like that. The only thing you can get in Missouri, the only thing you can get in Florida, the only thing you can get in Georgia are going to be issue age policies. Some states, there will be the majority of carriers only offer attained age and maybe a few that offer issue age. And so in that example, yes, I would agree with you. Just take the lowest one possible. But your community-rated people, that's which is typically going to be in the northeast of the country, everyone gets the same price for sure. So in other words, my point is most consumers are not picking and choosing what pricing method they're going to go with. It doesn't work that way, okay? Only in a few states. All right, let's keep going. All right, please clarify for your audience how the 3 days in hospital are calculated in days admitted, 2 nights or 3 nights stay. Well, I've always been trained that it was called 3 midnights. And so the way to keep looking at it this way, safety of it is 72 full hours. Okay, 72 full hours or longer. Okay, but again, they call it the 3 midnight rule. And so I would be safe. And again, if you're dealing with most reputable hospitals, skilled nursing facilities, they're going to make sure that you have qualified for that rule before they send you to skilled nursing. I mean, it's on you to make sure. But again, most of them are very well aware of exactly how that's going to be counted. But again, I think it's 3 midnights. I think you actually have to be overnight those 3 nights. Okay. But again, I know if we have 72 hours, we got that covered for sure. All right. Next question. If you're on a G plan, can you switch to an F plan age 75? Okay, if you're 75, that means you were born in 1950, right? Yeah, 1950. And so, yes, you could. Now, as far as guaranteed issue, I've never had anyone do that, just so you know, okay? So I'm not sure why you'd want to do that. Because you're going to pay much more for your F plan typically than you would your G plan, and the only difference is the B deductible. So most people between F and G right now, minimum $50, sometimes $100 a month or more. So if you're paying, let's just call it $75 a month more for your F plan, that's $900 extra premium a year. And what are you getting out of that $900? You're getting your B deductible covered, which this year is $283. Next year, 2026, $283. So you just paid $900 for a $283 benefit. I wouldn't suggest you do that. And so you're saying, could you switch from G to F? Well, if you live in a birthday rule state, you can't, because birthday rule states where there's no underwriting around your birthday, that is like to like and sometimes like to less. So G to F would be actually getting a higher coverage policy. And so you could do that, but you would have to go through underwriting in most states to make that switch. But financially, economically, I don't think that would be a real good move. But technically, yes, you could. You could because you were eligible for Medicare prior to 1/1/2020. And so you can for sure make that switch. Okay, I don't know how you would though, but let's keep going. All right. Is it true that the doctor must tell you prior to seeing you that they charge the excess charges and that they don't accept the Medicare payout? Yes, it is true. In fact, I'm almost sure not only do they have to tell you, but they have to prove that they told you. So I think you also get it in writing. Because I've had situations come up when someone did not know there was excess, and we actually, they were being charged for it, and they appealed it. I helped them appeal that. And Medicare made the doctor drop the excess charges because there was nothing in writing proving that that was disclosed. Okay, you can ask, they're supposed to tell you. And again, there's 8 states that don't even allow it at all. Providers within those states can't even add excess. Only 8 of 50. But the point is most of them are very good at letting you know because they want that extra 15%. Okay, all right, let's keep going. All right, how much do you pay for D plan? Well, it just depends on what D plan is going to be the right fit for you. There are some D plans, in fact, many D plans right now that are less than $15 a month. There are some markets where there are D plans that are zero on a monthly basis. But we don't buy a D plan based upon the premium. We buy a D plan based upon are my medications covered by the plan. And so that's how you make the decision. Now, premium matters for sure. For instance, I take no meds. So what am I doing? I'm going to get the cheapest thing in the market that I can get for sure. Which in my market is $9.60 a month. I take no meds. I'm going to take the cheapest plan. But if I was on a handful of meds, I'm not going to just look at premium. I'm going to look at are my meds covered in formulary? What's my my max out of pocket going to be for the annual basis, not just premium, but also my copays. So you go to Medicare.gov and you can put your meds in that system. And then you can find out what D plan is going to be best for you. If you need help with that, we're happy to help. If you don't have a broker already, we'd help with that process. Okay, we can advise you and give you direction. But all of us today have to go to Medicare.gov to be able to enroll in D plans. Okay, all right, next. All right, Medigap policy covers all gaps in A. Also, that's true. I think there's one or two of the 10 plans that don't cover everything in A, but the majority, anything I would ever write, F does, G does, N does, those are your top plans. All of those will equally cover all the gaps on the A side of Medicare. The deductible, extended hospital copays, extended skilled nursing copays, all covered. Plus, the FG and the M plan are going to give you another 365 days in the hospital at no cost to you at all after the Medicare days have been exhausted. You get 365 additional days paid by the MedSup plan. Now, that does not happen often anyways, but it is there if a person needed it. Okay, no deductible, no, yeah, you're exactly right. We're good. And it pays the A deductible multiple times. So you truly have full coverage on the A side of Medicare with your top MedSup plans. Good question. Next. I have cancer, so is N or G better? Well, what I would do, if you can afford it, is I would definitely get a G plan. I'm going to tell you why. Because, I don't know for sure where you're going to get all your cancer treatment, but there is a possibility that you would want to go to a cancer, facility, a cancer specialist that would charge excess. In fact, that's where we would sometimes see that coming up. Would be in specialty cancer clinics where they add the 15%. All right, so again, if it's not in the budget to pay that extra $40, $50 a month for a G, then definitely an N plan is still wonderful, very, very good. Excess doesn't happen often anyways, but knowing you have cancer going into it, I would go ahead and get the best that I could, and that would certainly be the G plan. All right, sorry you have cancer too. That is tough. All right, can I go to an F plan if I've been on Advantage Plan PPO for 4 years? Do I have to medically qualify? Okay, well, here's the thing, folks. If you've been on, you've been on for 4 years. Okay, so to get off of your plan, you've been on it for 4 years. So that tells me you started Medicare in 2021. Well, maybe not. See, I don't know. I'm assuming that you started Medicare before 1/1/2020. So you must have been on a MedSup or something else and went to an Advantage and you've been on it 4 years. So here's the way it's going to work. If you move, and by the way, you can make this move beginning January 1. You have the first 3 months to move. And so to move from Advantage to SUP, in your scenario, you are going to have to medically qualify to make that move. Because if we've been on Advantage plan for any time longer than a year, and sometimes less, folks, but if we start on Advantage at 65, then we have what's called a trial right. And that lasts for 12 months of my A and B date when I first go on Medicare. Now, if I start Medicare at a later date, then that's not necessarily going to be applicable. Okay, so but you've been on 4 years, so that's really a no-brainer. So to get off of your Med Advantage and go to a supplemental plan, you're going to have to qualify to do that. We're going to have to go through health questions, check your meds, and submit all the information to the underwriter. Now, if you lost your Advantage plan because the company terminated you, then you don't have to go through underwriting. If you started Medicare before 1/1/2020, you can get an F plan. Started Medicare after 1/1/2020, you get a G plan. That's called guaranteed issue. That's if the plan was terminated. But if you're the one making the decision to term it, then you don't have that guaranteed issue right. You must go through underwriting. Okay? All right, that's the difference. Let's keep going. All right, does Michigan have any specific Medicare supplemental rules like birthday or change plans at any time? Not that I'm aware of, okay? They are not a birthday rule state, and there's nothing special. They pretty much follow the national guidelines, which most states do. We have about a dozen states that have some additional rules, birthday rules, and then Washington has some special rules. Again, New York, Connecticut, and Massachusetts have some rules, but Michigan, no. Federal rules. All right, next. All right, can I still sign up for a G plan if I'm only on original Medicare A? You can, but you have to have A and B to get a Medicare supplemental plan. So I'm assuming you must mean A and B. So if you don't have B, then you'll have to sign up for B. And so again, I don't know your circumstance, whether it's you've been eligible, didn't take it. If that's the case, you can sign up the first quarter of the year, called general enrollment period. But if you already have A and B, then you can sign up with no underwriting for the first 6 months of your B date. Again, with no underwriting. So what I would do if I were you, just call the office, please, either now or tomorrow, and we'll walk you through exactly what you need to do to sign up for that G plan. Plus, we'll look at different carriers in your market. We'll show you prices. We'll talk about the difference in stability with those companies. So we'll do all the legwork for you. That way, you're going to make the right decision. And remember, folks, there's no cost to use a broker. Whether you use us or anyone else. You don't pay us. The insurance companies, pardon me, will always pay the broker, not you, ever. Okay, next. All right, why does my Sup G increase my premium 2 times a year? This has been going on since I started with them 9 years ago. I'm in New Jersey. Okay, well, here's why. Because what United Healthcare does is, and let me preface it this way. United Healthcare really only has one price increase a year, but it's split up 2 ways. Okay, it's true. When you compare price increases that Medicare, United Healthcare has taken versus an Aetna versus a Cigna versus Mutual of Omaha versus Physician Mutual versus all these other companies. Okay, I'm telling you, those 2 separate price increases are going to be equivalent to another company's one. Okay, so really, I promise you, it's just the way they design their policies. So here's why, though. Here's the answer. Because when you enroll in a Medicare supplemental plan with United Healthcare, what they do is they give you an enrollment discount. That enrollment discount ranges anywhere from about 39 to 42%. So what they do is they take an 85-year-old person, wherever you are in your state, and they discount that down to someone that's 65. And then that enrollment discount, once you've reached the age of 68, they start removing it at 3% a year. So it was, let's say, 39, and then you turn 68, and now it's 36, and then you're 69, and then it's 33, and now you're 70, it's a 30%. So they just start removing that enrollment discount 3%. Okay, and that's what you see at the anniversary of your policy. Then what United Healthcare does when they're going to take a group increase, they take that group increase across the board for that whole state. And most states, it's going to be in the spring of the year. And so that's what you're seeing, that enrollment discount being removed at 3% a year. And then when they take a group increase, that is done in the spring of every year, typically April or May. But what I'm saying to you is that when you combine those 2 price increases, it's basically the same as another company's one. Okay, they just do it differently, that's all. And if you want to move, get off of United Healthcare. I mean, I like them. I think they're a great company. I really do. I know they've had their issues, but most insurance companies have had issues. But as a general rule, we've seen over the long term, they have proven to be a pretty stable company long term. Okay. All right, next. All right, so are you saying original Medicare is better than Advantage plans? Original Medicare by itself is not better than Advantage plans. And the reason for that is because the title of our segment tonight was No Max Out of Pocket. That is A and B. There's no max out of pocket. It keeps going and going and going. So I am saying that original Medicare with the supplemental plan in my opinion, is better than Advantage, okay? As long as someone can afford the supplemental plan. If they can't afford it, then I'd get an Advantage plan. That's a whole lot better than A and B by itself. Now, why am I saying that, folks? Here's why. I like Original Medicare with a supplemental plan because I like to be able to choose my own doctors, okay? And that's what you get to do if you have a supplemental plan, because you can go to any hospital or any doctor that takes Original Medicare. They will take your supplemental plan. That is 100% of hospitals and 99% of all non-pediatric doctors take Medicare, folks. 99%. Okay? So it's almost unlimited. You take an Advantage plan, at the best you're going to find is about half the doctors are going to take that Advantage plan in a given market. That's at the very best. And by the way, that happens 1 out of 4 times. It's more likely that about a third of the doctors are going to be on that Advantage plan that you want to be on. A third. That's it. Okay? And so if you want the insurance company to pick your doctors, take an Advantage. Okay? That's one reason. We have people that are on Advantage plans. We'll write them. We write them every day because sometimes that's exactly the very best fit for people because they can't afford or don't want to afford a supplemental plan. Okay? And folks, when people have a supplemental plan, they pay a premium. Do you realize what they're paying for? They're paying for the fact that they can go to any doctor they want to and don't have to deal with networks. They're paying for the fact that they're not going to have to fight the insurance company to get something pre-approved. There's no pre-authorizations by supplemental plans at all. You're going to fight that Advantage company. And go online, do any kind of Google search, any kind of ChatGPT, whatever. Find out the problems people have when it comes to pre-authorizations with Advantage plans. Now, I know the government's trying to switch that around, but they're not going to turn that around overnight, folks. They're just not. Pre-authorizations are a problem. You give a company the right to say no to a knee replacement. They may say go to therapy for 9 months. You give them the right to say we're not going to cover a full hip, but we'll pay for a rod. That happens. The people are discharged from skilled nursing facilities too early, oftentimes with Advantage plans. Why? Because it's very costly to have them in that skilled nursing facility. They want you done in 17 days or 18 days. You may need to be 30 days. But that Advantage company says, no, you're done. And they send you home. And that happens all the time. And that's not Marvin bad-mouthing Advantage plans. It's just Marvin trying to be honest with you. Listen, if I cared about my commissions, I wouldn't share half of what I share with you about Advantage plans. I mean that. If I was chasing commissions, folks, I would be like most agents. I'd be telling you how great Advantage plans are. I would. Why? Because they pay me twice the commission. But do you have twice the insurance? No, I made more money, but you have better insurance. No, you don't. No. Now you have a network to deal with, pre-authorization to deal with, plans that can be changed, that you can lose from year to year. Okay? And if that's what you want to live with, then get an Advantage plan. I promise you, agents push them, not because they're looking out for you, they're looking out for themselves. They pay us a boatload of commissions, twice as much and lifetime residual. I get half the commission on Advantage on a sup that I do an Advantage, and I get paid for 6 years. Just so you know, folks, insurance is residual. We don't make a lot of money off anybody. I promise you don't. We have to do a lot of volume to be successful in this business. And the way it's structured is we get an initial commission and then we get paid residual as we take care of you. You stay on that policy. On a supplemental plan, I get paid for 6 years. Advantage plan, I get paid for life. If you're on that Advantage plan for 20 years, I get paid for 20 years. And that's why agents push them. They pay us very, very well. Agents, sadly, are incentivized to push Advantage plans. Listen, our agents are not. Our agents make the same amount of money whether they write a supplemental plan or an Advantage plan. When we started our company 17 years ago, we said we're not going to do that. We're not chasing commissions. We're going to chase after coverage to make sure people know their options and they choose what's best for them. And then I can pillow my head at night. I may not have made as much money, but I know that I did right by you. And by the way, as I share this with passion, there's other agents that are in this business who feel just like I do. Why? Because they're honest and they're ethical and they care about people more than they care about money. Okay, and that's what I think we owe it to you, to make sure you understand what you're doing, how the system works, so you can make a decision that's in your best interest. And if an Advantage plan is in your best interest, then that's what you want to do. But if a supplemental plan is something that's in your best interest for the reason I just mentioned, then do that. And so I'm not going to chase the commission. I'm going to say, here's your options. How can we help you and serve you? That's what we want to do as a company. All right, so you're saying original Medicare, we're going to answer that. Next one, Daniel, let's keep going. All right, please explain the impact of the Medicare AI authorization pilot called Wiser Model. I heard it runs 6 years 26 to 31, Arizona, New Jersey, Ohio, and that's exactly right. Okay, so let me explain it. So what happened when the Trump administration came back into power under Musk and the others like him who were committed to try to find fraudulent activity within different governmental systems? They identified certain services within Medicare that were being abused, okay, highly abused. And they were being abused by certain crooked providers, okay? And these providers were caught with their hand in the cookie jar, and they were abusing certain medical services. Now listen, and by the way, folks, I'm just being kind of general here, okay? Prior to the Wiser model, there were about a dozen different services that required pre-authorization within the Medicare system. A dozen. Now, let me tell you how many codes there are in Medicare. There's 7,000 billable codes. 7,000. Okay? There are 12 services prior to the Wiser model that required a pre-authorization. Okay? That is a fraction of the services that Medicare covers. 12. Okay? Now, when you compare that to an Advantage plan, 27% of the time, you're going to have to deal with a pre-authorization. Got it? Okay, so now let's talk about Wiser model. So when Doge and that group finds the abuse, they wanted to add 19, because I've looked at the different procedures. They added 19 new procedures to the pre-authorizations that are now required by Medicare. And I would tell you, please look at those 19. Look at them. I did. And of course, a lot of them you wouldn't know unless you looked them up. And I did that as well. Okay, and a lot of them have to do with skin grafting. They have to do with just different things that were services that are important, but that were being conducted when they should not have been conducted. So they said, hey, we're getting ripped off by crooked providers, and so we're going to start requiring a pre-authorization on those 19 services. Okay, so now what do we have? 31 pre-authorizations of the Medicare system. And if you read those, you'd say, hey, all that makes sense. All right, again, compared to Advantage, all of those 31 were already in Advantage pre-authorizations anyways, plus, additional 27%. All right, now, let me share another thing with you about Wiser. Here's what it works. Though Medicare said we're going to require pre-authorization on these, they also said, but doc, if you know it's medically necessary and you want to go ahead and do it, do it. And then you prove why it was medically necessary, and Medicare will still pay the doctor. So the doctor doesn't even have to go through the pre-authorization process. Now, if they want to be guaranteed payment, then they need to. But if they're confident that it's something that needs to be done, they can go ahead and do it. Medicare gives them permission to do it, but now they're going to have to prove after the fact why they did that. And if they're honest and ethical, they're going to be able to prove that. So all they were trying to do, folks, is catch some bad actors. So they came up with this 5-year pilot in these 6 states. And again, it is a fraction of the services that Medicare covers. So let's not exaggerate it. I've had people that, push Advantage plans are going to say, see, now even Medicare has a pre-authorization. Right. No comparison. That is not comparing apples to apples whatsoever. We still have just a fraction of those things that are going to happen. So we'll see what happens. And again, those services, in my opinion, ought to be pre-authorized. That's right. If they're being abused, they catch the bad actors and shut them down. That's what I'm for. All right, let's keep going. All right, I'm eligible for Medicare 7126. Should I take an Advantage plan for the 6 months, then go to original Medicare in January? Will I have to medically qualify? No, you would not have to. If you're aging in, you could do that. And that's fine if you want to do that. Fine. What are you going to save? $900? You get an in plan, what are you going to save? Maybe, $700 or whatever. So if it is worth that to you to, make those switches and go through that kind of a situation, then that is fine. I'm not being critical of such a decision. I wouldn't do that. Just wouldn't. It wouldn't be worth that kind of money to me at all. I'm not. Now listen, if there were $700, $900 on the ground, I'd certainly pick it up and I'd be grateful I found it. Okay, so I'm not minimizing that money. I'm just saying the hassle of having to do that to me would not be worth it. That's all. Okay, but you can do it because you'll be within that period of time that you can get that supplemental plan with no underwriting required. All right, let's keep going. That's just a lot of maintenance to me, folks. That's all. I think there's bigger things in life to do than that kind of thing. Okay, WellCare is just a prescription drug plan, correct? No. WellCare also writes Medicare Advantage plans. WellCare does not write supplemental plans. And so, they write Part D plans and Medicare Advantage plans. Now, they're most well known by their Part D plans because for a few years now they've had some zero premium plans, and that caught the nation's attention, of course. All right, next. All right, Medicare School, my Plan D went from 20 per month to 70. Okay. 2026, so I switched to a lesser plan that is zero. Good. How can they make money charging zero? In my case, I don't reach the deductible. Okay, here's how they do it. What happens is any time that someone has a Part D plan, Medicare is actually subsidizing that Part D plan. So when these companies bid on participating in the Part D program, they establish a bid price. And with that bid price, they're saying to the government, we will cover medications within our formulary at the bid price, just the money that the government's going to give them. And how do they do it? Well, because they have actuaries, folks, that are mathematical geniuses. And they know basically on average the type of prescriptions people are getting, how often they're getting them. And so actuarially, these companies have said we can still make a decent profit margin and charge no premium. Okay, now let's say a plan has a premium of $30. So what that probably means is that company has a little bit of a broader formulary. So in order to actuarially still make their profit and cover a few more meds, they're having to charge a premium for that. Now, many of these companies, that the one you're talking about that went from 20 to 70, a lot of those companies wanted to stay in the Part D game, but they really weren't really trying to be real attractive and competitive, or they would not have raised their premium $50. Now, Medicare allowed them to do it, but all the ones that did it basically are sending the message, hey, if we're going to do this, we're going to be sure we're going to make some money. Other companies said, no, we're happy with the government reimbursement and we're not going to charge much of a premium or any premium. That's how it happens. But keep this in mind, folks. When you have a zero premium plan, and by the way, I would enroll in one in a second if I took zero meds or just a couple cheap meds. I'm fine with zero premium plans. But keep in mind, when you do that, the formulary that you are getting is about 2,500 medications in formulary. If you're taking 8 or 10 medications, I guarantee you that cheap plan is not going to be the best for you. You want to probably be on a plan that's going to be a little broader. Why? So you can get your medications covered. And if a medication's covered, then the most I'll spend out of pocket for the whole year is $2,100. But if I'm in a formulary that doesn't have that medication covered, then again, that $2,100 is not going to apply unless they add it to my formulary. All right. So my whole point is they can still make money, but the formula they're offering, it may not be the best for everyone. Could be great for many, but not for everyone. All right. But that's how they do it. They get paid by the government. All right. Let's keep going. I already have Medicare A and D. I want to sign up with B and N ASAP. When can I sign up and when do they go into effect? Okay. Very good. So what you're going to do now, let me say this. If you're already beyond your initial enrollment period, because I don't know if you are or not, okay? I'm assuming you are, but let's say that you're still within your initial enrollment period, which is your birth month, 3 months before, your birth month, 3 months after. Got it? 7 months. 3 before, birth month, 3 months after. So if you're still within that 7-month window, you can do it now. You can enroll into getting Medicare B right now. But if you're already beyond your initial enrollment period and you're over 8 months of having lost employer coverage, if you were still working at 65, you still have 8 months of that employment end date to come into Medicare B now. Got it? So that's IEP and SEP. So again, if you were not working, that's longer than 8 months ago, and you're out of your original 7-month enrollment window, now you're going to come into Medicare using what's called the General Enrollment Period, GEP. And that GEP starts January 1 and it goes through March 31. So if I were you, you're asking me ASCP, what I'd be doing, call our office and let our staff help you and we'll get you enrolled into Medicare in the GEP. And so that'll be January 1 or the very first business day in January. And then your B date will start 2/1 of 2026. And then you'll get a supplemental plan. Again, we'll help you with that. We'd love to do that. And that supplemental plan also, that plan in, will start 2/1 of 2026. So depending upon where you are, whether it's IEP, SEP, or a GEP, will determine really when that can start. But I'm assuming you're going to come in during a GEP. And that would be right after the first of the year, 2/1 start date on N and B date. All right. Give us a call. We'll help you with all that. We do that all the time. Happy to help you. Next, Daniel. All right. My initial enrollment, December 1 at 65. I have dual eligibility with Medi-Cal. Good. Does that force me into a D-SNP plan, or can I stay with parts A and B only? Well, okay. Let me say this. Number one, I don't want to say it forces you into it, but I'll guarantee you, I would not want to be on A and B only, and then have, because then what you're going to have is Medi-Cal as secondary. And so what I'd rather do is, I think a dual SNP plans is going to be much better than that. Now, unless there's something about Medi-Cal that I'm not familiar with, that would be my answer to you. I can see no benefit to you, because if you just had Medi-Cal, you're still going to have to go to doctors that take Medi-Cal, okay? And so that's going to be the same set of doctors that are going to take your dual SNP plan. And the reason I'm saying that your dual SNP plan is better is because it's going to come with some very nice perks that A and B are not going to cover. You're going to should be able to get some kind of a dental allowance, hearing aids if you need those, a gym membership usually. So you got these perks that A and B and Medi-Cal are not going to give to you. But you're not getting more doctors, okay? Because every doctor's still going to have to take Medicaid, so they'll take your D-SNP plan. So I think having the D-SNP plan is very the best call in your situation, unless there's something I'm missing. But we write lots of business in California. To be happy to help you with that. Give us a call and have one of the agents go over all your options with you, please. All right, let's keep going, Daniel. You will never talk to the guy that signs you, but to a customer service representative. There's so much more, but trust me, this place is not what Marvin says. Okay. All right. So, okay, let's talk about this. What happens is the way we really designed our company, because we do a lot of volume all over the country. What we do is we have agents that take care of our clients initially. Okay. And those agents have, on the average, about 7 appointments every day. During AEP, sometimes 10 and 12 a day. Okay, so those agents are on the phone back to back to back to back, helping people enroll into Medicare A and B, helping them get started with their Social Security if they want to do it at the same time. They are helping them look at all their options versus MedSups, Medicare Advantage, looking at premiums, yada yada, all the stuff that goes into it. Okay. Those calls are normally at least an hour, and sometimes an hour and a half or longer. And normally we're having to have 2 of those kind of appointments with our people. So all I'm saying to you is that part of our agent force is specializing in helping those people as they make that initial decision. All right. And that's the way we do business. And by the way, whatever you want to say here, this place is not what Marvin says. Marvin's telling you exactly how it works, okay? And I don't think I've ever said anything the contrary to this publicly, okay? And we tell our agents all the time, make sure you let people know that once you are done with them, that they will be passed on to our customer service team, which is also agents. So let's talk about that. So once your policy is set up, now what happens? Well, you may want to switch a plan. You may have a bill problem. You may have whatever. All kinds of things happen. So we have another team of agents that are designed to help our present customers. That's our retention team. They service our clients. Now, you're griping about this, but I can tell you that most people, when they call in, they never have the same agent ever anywhere. In fact, most people, when they have a customer service problem, they're transferred to the Philippines or to India or to China. Okay, that doesn't happen. When you come in, it is true, you're not going to be able to talk to your original agent because that agent has done their job. They set you up, did everything that really is involved with that, and probably met with you for 2 appointments to make that happen. Okay, now you have a claim problem. I don't want an agent that specializes in setting up an, so people have to be on the phone waiting on hold if we have a claim problem. That's what our other agents are there for to do. And by the way, there's all companies typically have some kind of a division of powers, and that's the way that we do that. because we find our clients are served better by us doing that initially as well as ongoing. Okay, that's what I've said, and I will continue to say that. I'm sorry that you had some kind of bad experience, but that is the reality. Okay, and by the way, we're not perfect at all, and so if you were misled in some way, my apologies for that, but that certainly has never been anything that I've ever communicated publicly at all, because I know how we do business. All right, let's keep going. But appreciate the comment on the complaint. No problem at all. Let's keep going. Our local takes Medicare, but says it doesn't take our G plan because it's with Cigna. We thought all G plans were the same, right? Okay, well, here's what's happened. 99.9% of the time, here's what's happened. Okay, you called in and you talked to somebody that's probably a receptionist or maybe whatever, and not trained very well, maybe even new to the business. And when you said you take Cigna, what they thought you meant is, do you take Cigna Advantage Plan? Okay. And just so you know, that's why we tell people all the time, when you're on a supplemental plan and you're trying to find a provider, don't even tell them you have a supplemental plan. Say, do you take original Medicare? Because if they say, yes, we take original Medicare, they will and they must take your supplemental plan. That's why I don't ask them. Now, you're not trying to hide it. It's just because many times people answer the phones, can be rookies, maybe not a lot of experience, maybe not well trained, and all they've been trained to do is to look up on a Medicare Advantage list to see if they take Cigna or Humana or United Healthcare or whatever. And that's what happened with that phone call. Because if they take original Medicare, they have to take your supplemental plan. All right? So again, that's why you don't have to ask them. That's what happened, guarantee you. Let's keep going. All right, Marvin, if the IRMA in 2027 is $218,000 for married couples, does it mean that the 2027 IRMA for the Med guy is on the 2025 tax return? Exactly right. So number one, I mean, we don't know 2027. That's, maybe I think you meant 2026. Okay. So it is 218 for married couples. And so what they're going to be looking at is your modified adjusted gross income for 2024. Okay. So again, in 2027, they'll look at this year. But that we don't have those numbers yet. That's the only reason I'm not trying to rebuke you here. I'm just saying to you, 218 is the new number for married couples filing a joint return for 2026. And they're going to look at 2024. So I don't know what it'll be in 2027, but I do know they will look at 2025. Okay, so the answer to your question is yes, but the 218 is not right? That'll be a little bit higher as we move into 2027. Okay, all right, hope that helped. Let's keep going. All right, I'm going to turn 65 next April, so I don't know anything about this and really need one-on-one to explain a little better. I need help with everything. I do take medicine. Okay, very good. Would I recommend? Call our office. We are in the Midwest. We're actually in the suburb of Kansas City, Missouri, called Overland Park, Kansas. That's where our home office is. We serve all 50 states. So when you call in, our office is Central Time, Monday to Thursday, 7 to 7. Friday, 7 to 6. Okay, 7 to 7, and then 7 to 6 on Friday. So call in and let a reception team know that you're new to Medicare, just want to learn. You see the phone number there, call in, and they will direct you to an agent that will help you. By the way, it's an agent that I've trained. So I would recommend you doing that. Now, let me tell you another thing I would do. Please go to our website, medicareschool.com, medicareschool.com. And there is a place for you to click on a video called the Medicare Workshop. It's a free workshop. There's no obligation. It's all the essentials of Medicare. It's about a 50-minute workshop. I do that. In fact, I'm going to shoot the 2026 version next week. And so the numbers change, so we shoot a new one every year, but it'll take you 50 minutes, and I promise you, it's going to teach you probably 90% of what you need to know about Medicare, or maybe 80%, whatever. It's going to teach you a lot of the ins and outs of Medicare, answer a lot of your questions, and kind of clear up some of the confusion so that when you do have that phone call with their agent, they can, again, reiterate what's shared in the video and really explain things to you in a little bit more detail. Okay, but go, medicareschool.com, Essentials Workshop, well worth your time to do that. Okay? Anybody else, Daniel? I got a few more minutes here. I pay for A and B Medicare. I do not use it. I'm 100% P&T with VA. Okay, they tell me I have to have Medicare. Why? What plan is good for me? Okay, well, I don't know why they said you had to have B. I've never ever had somebody that qualified for 100% disability be told that they had to have B. Now, it is true you would have A because you're on Social Security, you're going to have Medicare A. But why they told you to have B, not sure on that. Okay, I really mean that because I know that Medicare does not pay the VA. VA doesn't bill Medicare. We got two different, government institutions there, but it's all government. So the government doesn't bill the government. It doesn't work that way. So if you are going to keep A and B, what I would do if I were you, or at least consider, is to do what is called an MA only plan. MA only plan. This is a Medicare Advantage only plan. Only meaning it doesn't have prescription drug coverage embedded. Why? Because you don't need it. You get your meds to the VA. And so the reason that a lot of people who have VA will do an MA only plan is because you use the VA when you want to, and now with the MA only plan, you now have a civilian option. So you have VA because you served our country. Thank you for doing so. You have Medicare because you paid into the Medicare tax system. Okay, you paid in that system, therefore you're eligible to use it. And so the most cost-effective way to use it, if you know you're also going to have the VA in your back pocket, is to use the Medicare Advantage. I would not, in that situation, buy a supplemental plan. Now, I have a lot of people that are eligible for VA that hate the VA, and they have supplemental plans. But those that like the VA and they're going to use the VA, been served well by the VA, then I would not get a supplemental plan. I would just get a Medicare Advantage plan. And let me tell you a benefit of doing that. Most people right now that are doing an MA-only plan, as long as you get your meds to the VA, that Medicare Advantage plan will give you a credit on your Social Security check every month. And those range anywhere from low side, probably $100 a month, high side, $150 every month. Because that Advantage company doesn't have to cover your meds, so they take some of that money they get from the government and they credit that back towards your Part B premium, which if you're on Social Security makes your check go up, and if you're not on Social Security, it makes your Part B premium bill go down. So that's called an MA-only plan. Again, call in. We write those. Happy to help you. So again, if you're going to stay in A and B, might as well get some advantage out of it and do an MA-only plan. Get your Part B reduced drastically. Gym membership, some of the other perks that go along with it, over-the-counter cards, some of those things that are really nice about the Advantage plan. Take advantage of it. Might as well. All right, let's keep going. All right, how long does it take to Part B and D plan to show up on the Social Security site after you uploaded the forms 40B and L564 to Social Security? Well, I would say probably 3 to 4 weeks. It may show up as being processed, but what's going to happen is that's just going to stay in process. And then when it's all finalized, then from start to finish, that's normally 3 to 4 weeks. Now, sometimes it's longer. Okay, that definitely could happen, but 3 to 4 weeks would be an average. But as long as you got confirmation that is in there, then I wouldn't worry about it. I just wouldn't. It just takes some time to process. I don't know what date you requested on your Part B. You did that on your 40B form, but yeah, it's a good month. Okay, all right, next. Excuse me. If someone has an Advantage plan and visits another state and needs to see a doctor or is hospitalized or an ER, will they be covered on the Advantage plan? Plan in question is Clover, New Jersey. Yes, all Advantage plans are required to cover emergency room visits out of network at in-network pricing, which is basically just a copay. Okay, so yes, anywhere in the country, actually anywhere in the world, if it's an emergency situation, then you can go to the closest facility. Don't never worry about network, because there is no network when it comes to emergency. They want you to go get care, and you would be responsible for in the States. You'd be responsible for your copay to the emergency room, which is anywhere from usually about $120 to $150 copay, and if it's outside of the country, it's usually a zero copay. Again, for the emergency room visit. Okay, so the answer is yes. All right, what is $70 to $80 difference between Plan G and N warrant going with Plan N, even if you see doctors twice a month? Our increase in Plan N usually smaller than, okay, well, so if it's 70, let's just say it's $75. We'll split the difference. So what is that? We save $900 in the year. Okay, so either way, you're going to have to meet your B deductible. Got that? So your first couple doctor visits, anyways, are going to be the 283, 257 this year, 283 next year. So twice a month. So you're talking about $40. Would I do that? I probably wouldn't. If I'm going to the doctor a couple times a year, probably would save the money. But if I'm going twice a month, and I know that's going to happen, because you have up to a $20 copay. And just so you know, that copay could be $16. It could be 18. It just cannot be above 20. So that's the wording on the in plan. A copay up to $20. So if I go twice a month, I spent 40. I saved 70. That's $30. To me, that certainly would not be worth it at all. And as far as stability goes, let me just tell you this. What we've seen here in the last couple of years, both G and N's have gone up very similarly. Okay, I'm not saying every carrier because I can't, identify every single carrier, but we've seen them all go up and very similar in percentages. Now, will that continue on? I have no idea. I don't have a crystal ball. But this idea that ends are going to be more stable because a lot of healthier people are choosing those, that's not true, because N is also a guaranteed issue product when you're new to Medicare. So there's lots and lots of people new to Medicare that are taking N plans. They're going to use those N plans, and they're also sick. Okay. So this business of knowing for sure that G is going to go more than N because it's GI, it's just not true. It isn't. Now, I'm not saying there's not exceptions at all, but it is true that N's are lower. And so if I have a premium of $150, I take a 10% increase. That went up $15. If I have a $100 premium goes up 10%, it went up $10. So certainly there's a difference. But as far as percentage increases, we have not seen a huge difference between the G and the N. It's just that the G, because it has more coverage, has a higher premium. That 10% increase looks higher. And it is because of its percentage tied to that initial premium. Okay. Hope that helps. Made sense to me. I don't know if it made sense to you, but let's keep going. All righty. A couple more questions. Daniel, I Medicare and B, what's up? Also have a D plan. I will be vacationing in another state for the holidays. Am I covered in a state other than where I live? No. When you have A and B and your SUP, you're covered the same regardless of the state you're in, or even if you're in Puerto Rico or Guam. Okay. Because A and B and your supplemental plan are federal plans, nationwide plans. It's the same whether you're in Anchorage, Alaska, or Miami, Florida. It doesn't matter. Okay, now when it comes to your D plan is for your medications that you're taking for maintenance and also for occasional medications. And so you also can use that anywhere that you don't want to as well. Now, if you happen to go to a pharmacy that's at a network, then that could be an issue. Not huge, but it could be. So that's why I recommend if people can, if you are going to a CVS or a Walgreens or a Walmart or some kind of a national franchise for your scripts, then it's probably a little bit easier as you travel as well. Okay, but you would have that coverage. But again, I think it's possible that if you go to an out-of-network pharmacy, you could have some higher out-of-pocket expenses. Okay, all right, but everything else, federal. Keep going. How does a G plan cover dental and vision? It doesn't cover dental. Now, the G plan is going to cover you wonderfully on vision, except for preventive eye exams and eyewear. Remember, folks, Medicare doesn't cover either one of those things. No preventive eye exams. That means usually eye exams for prescription glasses, or you want to see if your eyes are healthy. Medicare doesn't cover that. Now, if you're having problems, vision problems, that is covered very well by Medicare. The eye exams are covered, glaucoma is covered, cataract surgery covered. I just had a detached retina. I'm not on Medicare yet, but if I was, it would have been covered well by them. Macular degeneration. A lot of times people have shots, in the eyes. That's covered by Medicare. So the point is Medicare covers very well on vision, just not eye exams for prescriptions and prescription eyewear. Okay, dental Medicare only big stuff. You had jaw cancer and they had to remove some bone in the jaw. Therefore, there's a reconstruction of the teeth involved. Medicare pays for that. So point is medically necessary dental. But most people, when they talk about dental, they're talking about cleanings and extractions and fillings and crowns and root canals and implants, all that kind of stuff. That's going to be a different dental plan you're going to need because Medicare is not going to cover you on that. Okay. Next. All righty. Turn 65 July, currently on employer insurance. I plan to retire 2026. When should I start my transition? Well, ideally, it's going to be 3 months before. So your birthday's in July. I'm assuming it's July 2nd to the end of the month. So your Medicare coverage can begin in July. Remember, if your birthday's July 1, you're going to start your Medicare in June. But let's say it's in July. So we back up the clock 3 months, June, May, April. So you can begin to enroll in a Medicare anytime after April 1. So it's 3 months before you turn 65, the month you turn 65, 3 months after. And if you want to start your Medicare as soon as possible, then you always do it 3 months before. Now, if you're on Social Security already, then you'll be automatically enrolled in Medicare. You don't have to do anything with A and B. It just happens. They'll automatically enroll you. And in your scenario, that card then would show up about mid-March. Shows up about 100 days prior to your birth month. But if you self-enroll, that 3 months prior is the perfect time. Okay, one more question, Daniel. We're going to call it good. Oh, I guess we're already going to call it good now. All right, folks, thanks so much. Hey, listen, I'll be back Monday night, 5 o'clock. So Monday and Thursdays, I try to do these every evening. Those evenings, take your questions. If you have any comments, we certainly value those. Things you want me to cover that I haven't covered, we'd be delighted to hear from you. And if we can serve as your broker, again, it'd be our privilege to do so. And we'll do our very best to make sure you know your options and are well taken care of long-term as well. Thanks so much. Have a good evening. See ya.